If you think that there are potentially 6,800 or 7,000 cases of COVID in this country and 100 odd deaths, I can tell you now, out of the 2.5 million business owners in this country who employ nearly 7 million people, you could end up getting tens of thousands of bankruptcies and tens of thousands of deaths in business. I don't want to sound like some redneck, but I'm going to come across that way, I know it. So I'm going to say what a lot of people are saying to me, and by the way, is what a lot of people are thinking. It's probably not the most politically correct commentary to make, but here we go. I don't want anybody to die from COVID. I don't care whether you're 1 year old or 91 years of age. I don't want anyone to die from anything, not only COVID. I don't want them to die from cancer or the flu or from any other horrible or horrific accident, etc. Just don't want that to happen, right? And what I don't want to see as a result of this value judgment, this trade-off now, is the death of businesses, the bankruptcy of businesses, the death of the very purpose that attaches to ourselves as to why we go to work for some people in business. So right now what we're trying to, what's looking at to me is we're sort of being forced to make this difficult decision with the political system overlaying it as to what's more important. The potential death of people who die as a result of catching COVID-19 and the spread of COVID-19, therefore creating more deaths, or which therefore results in a lockdown, which creates, through no fault of our own, our business owners, the business owners in this great country of ours, through no fault of ours, the death of our business. And it's a slow death. It's an excruciating death. It's no different to dying from any disease, whether it be cancer or COVID. It's an excruciating death. You lose your sense of purpose. Your family loses income. You get put in a position where all of a sudden you're maybe having to receive social security payments. You feel as though you have failed your family, or your family may think that you failed them. All your plans can just go out the door. All the plans for the future. You might be planning to have children off the back of this great business. You might be planning to put your children from this business through great schools, which you never had an opportunity to do, or university to become something that you never had an opportunity to do. You may be planning a wonderful wedding, but you can no longer afford it. These rules that have been imposed on us now by the various state premiers and governments around this country, and this is not a federal government issue, this is a state government issue now. They've done their bit. It seems as though we've got it under control. The question is now, are we going to jeopardize the greater business community just to keep our numbers at a world level? In other words, our virus contact COVID-19 numbers at a world level. In other words, it's better than everyone else in the world. Or are we prepared to compromise a little bit in order to protect our business community? By the way, we keep getting told, we've been getting told for years and years and years how our business owners in this country, small, medium and large, are the backbone of our country, are the fabric of our country. They employ most employees. They give us, what's more important, not only just give us income, but what's really important is 60% of every single person in this country's purpose in life, outside of their family, their purpose, their business purpose, comes from these business owners. We've got to be careful that the rules and regulations just don't crush that, because that has a far greater effect for a far longer, lingering period across the board for all Australians than anything else. If you think that there are potentially 6,800 or 7,000 cases of COVID in this country and 100 odd deaths, I can tell you now, out of the 2.5 million business owners in this country who employ nearly 7 million people, you could end up getting tens of thousands of bankruptcies and tens of thousands of deaths in business, and putting our country into a position where we are no longer as great a country as we were. So, for me, it's about having a good balance between the two. COVID balance, relevance, relative to the rest of the world. Yes, we want to be as good and or better than the rest of the world. Yep, we want to get a good tick for that. But at the same time, we want to get a good tick for keeping this country alive when it comes to our business environment. So let's get the balance right. And I talked last week about the narrative. The narrative's got to change about getting the balance right. The curve that we now need to flatten, as well as the COVID curve, that's flattened. We obviously don't want it to bounce back. We want to keep it flattened, but that's flattened. We're successful at that. The curve we now need to flatten is the curve around mental health problems arising from people not having jobs, mental health problems arising from people's daily business purpose going thrown straight out the window. The mental health problem about people who can't just get outside to visit their families, whether it's in Victoria or Tasmania or New South Wales or Queensland, it doesn't matter. The mental health problem just being caused by our economic malaise if we end up having an economic malaise. The recessionary fears that are sort of circulating around our business environment at the moment. Those curves are going to be flattened. They're new curves, and there's lots of them with far greater effect, a long-reaching effect. And again, we will get marked against the rest of the world. And that's what I fear. I fear we are going to be behind the 8 ball. I hear our Prime Minister saying, let's get back to work, let's get back to school. Well, that sits with the states, not the Prime Minister. That's a state government issue. That's a state government power. It doesn't sit within the Commonwealth government's power. We need to get every Premier in every state right now to agree to get everybody back to work. Try and get things back to the way they were. All right, let's put some rules in, some regulations. Got it. Let's have, sanitizer, and let's try and have distancing and all that sort of stuff, and let's be respectful of each other, and let's not cough and make other than we cough into our arm, and if we're sick, don't go to work, and make sure if you are sick, you go and get tested, and let's make sure the testing regime is up and running and nice and rigid, etc. But for God's sake, let's get this economy back on track, and let's get businesses back on track. Let's get businesses confident. Let's get Australia open for business. Let's have the rest of the world holding us up as the standard for economic recovery, as well as the standard for controlling COVID.